Greetings and welcome to part 3, the conclusion of the Star Trek 2009 discussion/review with myself, Zarin Isaac, and our very special guest,
Decadent7.
Yeah.
This time around, we're going to totally nerd rage in your face. Check it out today on the Multimedia Chronicles. Okay, welcome back. Well, this is the part we've been waiting for. This is the one we've really been getting all geared up for. Gonna go all crazy here. Some of the fan reactions have been what word would you use to describe them?
Fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Fucking stupid. That works. Yeah. Now I say what I am about to say, well, and everything that I'm saying in this review, basically, as someone who's been a fan of the original series and the original crew and the original movies since he was a kid. I mean, I pretty much grew up with these characters and such, and I really enjoyed the new movie, and I have no major issues with it other than, the minor sort of technical issues that we went into in part 2, but other than that, great stuff. Now, let me start with one of the comments that I see far too often. Now, I've watched a lot of other reviews and videos about fans talking about the movie, and I often leave a comment to something to the effect of, I love the way they did this movie in that it allows for new stories with the old characters, but in such a way that it does not interfere with or affect or abolish existing continuity. It just runs concurrently with it. And I almost inevitably get responses something like this. What are you talking about? It doesn't affect existing continuity. Right from the opening scene, they completely wiped out existing continuity. It's gone. They destroyed the entire Star Trek universe in the first 2 minutes. Really? Thoughts on that, Decadent?
Okay, to anyone with I'm going to do a Star Trek quote here, with a logical mind, it's very obvious that is entirely false. It's even explained in the film. If you pay attention, it's even explained in the fucking movie.
Yes.
And what's wrong with having new stories? Do you want the same fucking movies redone again with the new cast? No. You want new stories.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing. I mean, they did it. When I watched it, I just kind of went like, oh, so
yeah.
That's what they're doing.
Exactly.
I actually
what we
like
did
that.
Too.
That just opens the doors wide open for new stories and new possibilities, because it is explained in the movie several times over. In fact, they go through the black hole, and it changes the timeline, and in accordance with quantum theory, creates a parallel universe. So you start off with the prime universe here, as they're calling it. Events continue as normal for a certain period, and then events change. Someone steps on a butterfly, and boom! Suddenly there's 2 universes. One where the butterfly got stepped on, one where it didn't get stepped on. And things continue on their respective parallel, unrelated paths, completely independent of each other. It's the same principle that the new Star Trek movie follows. Things proceeded along the same path for a little while, and then boom, Nero went and fucked everything up. And so 2 separate universes now exist, the prime universe that we know from all the existing material, and the new universe, which continues on the timeline as it was altered. They exist parallel to each other, folks. Parallel.
Yeah. Also, it's not like this is something entirely new to the Star
Exactly.
Trek universe.
No.
Especially if you're a hardcore fan, then you already fucking know that.
They did it in the
I'm
series.
not even a hardcore fan, and I fucking know that.
They did it in the series. They did it in the one movie. I don't remember what number it was. Sorry, fans. But when they had to go save the whale.
Yeah, well, they did that. Well, the whale story was basically a straightforward time travel story, but there was, there was other cases, like, for example, in the Next Generation. You guys mentioned your Next Generation fans.
Yeah.
There's at least 2 occasions I can think of in Next Generation where they did exactly that. There was an episode called Parallels, which was straight out of quantum theory, where they basically visit a parallel universe. Hello? There's the 2-part finale where Picard is jumping all over the timeline, meeting up with all these other versions of the crew and the Enterprise and screwing things up. Does it wipe out existing continuity? I mean, logically, by what you guys are saying, because the original Enterprise gets destroyed in that episode, the entire Next Generation series therefore never happened.
Yeah.
No.
And First Contact with Generation as well.
Not at all. Sorry, go.
The First Contact movie with Next Gen as well. Borg go back in time. They showed the planet covered in Borg at first, but they go back in time too.
Yeah.
They fix it later. I know they all fix everything, but still.
There you go. Well, one of the arguments I heard was a fellow was saying, but they didn't fix everything at the end. By the end of this one, it's the only case where things have been completely messed up that they don't hit the reset button at the end. It's like, well, they didn't need to hit the reset button because it doesn't. What we're seeing didn't happen in the universe that we've seen before.
Exactly.
Yes, but in the end of this movie, what happens? In the end, fucking Kirk is still
He's still the captain. Everyone's still
and
together.
fucking Spock is still his first in command. Like, it's, basically
it kind of does
it works
reset
itself out.
Except for Vulcan not being there, and
That's right.
It just
But
adds a new twist.
that's the habit of any kind of fanboy, and I can say the same thing when it comes to my interests. It's the habit to take something that you like and pick it apart so that it no longer, you just have a reason to fucking bitch about something.
Yeah.
But
oh God, yeah. I know.
But
I see the same thing on. I see the same thing on the Doctor Who message boards all the time. Like ever since they brought it back with the new series, like after a 15-year absence, all these hardcore fans of the old series are complaining that the new series is nothing like the old series. It's like, what? So you expect them to be doing it on a shoestring budget, shot on video with like tinfoil monsters in 2005? Give me a fucking break. Like, come on. Of course it's updated. Of course it's modernized. It has to be.
If it's taken that long of a hiatus, even with the original Star Trek series, it's going to be different naturally.
I can bring that up with the Star Wars ones too.
It's just going to adapt and become something different.
Exactly.
Here's the other thing is, as much as I love Star Trek and have loved Star Trek over the years, I have to admit that I really lost interest in it after a while. I mean, I'll always love the old show. I always love Next Generation and the movies. But with all the spin-offs, like Deep Space Nine and Voyager and Enterprise, there was just so much Star Trek
I got
out
one with
there.
that. Look at the new Enterprise show. Why is the Borg in it?
Yeah. Well, there's problems. But when we're getting into sort of fanboy continuity,
I know that one makes
analysis.
Me
But no, my point was that it was just so oversaturated with Star Trek, and it just kind of felt like they were retreading the same ground over and over and over again. I felt like the franchise had become incredibly stale and dull, and there was just nowhere they could go with it anymore. They had basically done all they could.
Well,
in my view, the only thing that was left to do was some kind of a reboot. And I think the fact that they chose to go right back to the beginning with the original characters, the original crew on the original Enterprise, just revamped and updated a bit for a modern audience, was a great way to go. Because to me, they have never, ever managed to come close to matching the dynamics between those characters in any of the subsequent series. I mean, as much as I love Next Generation, you just can't compare the character dynamics between those characters versus, the way the original crew interacted with each other. You know what I mean by that?
Yeah. And it's not just that. Like, this movie breathes, like Sean was saying, an entirely new life into the franchise. Because of this movie, all of you Star Trek fans are going to be able to get your fix of Star Trek even more so now. Instead of going over all of the old episodes, which, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with that, but you're going to be able to see the characters that you love, even if they are being portrayed by new people. You're going to get to see them in totally different stories now. Like, just something completely new, which is a good thing.
Mm-hmm. That's it, exactly. I mean, it breathed new life into what was very close to being a dead franchise.
Yeah, pretty much.
And the other thing, which I don't know why fans don't see this as a positive thing, is I've begun to lose count of how many people I've talked to who say to me, I never really watched Star Trek before, but after seeing the new movie, I'm really interested in seeing the old ones.
Exactly.
That's how I am, because
There's
I've seen
new
this
fans being made from this, who are interested in the characters, who are interested in seeing what they've been missing all these years. I get people sending me emails saying, "Yeah, I really want to check out the old Star Trek, but where do I start?"
Yeah.
So I try to tell them where to start. But
the fans will always complain.
Yeah,
that's the
true.
big thing.
Well, I mean, fan is the short form for fanatic.
Exactly.
So I guess true to form, certain fans remain true to form. So, was there any other sort of fan idiocy that you've seen out there that you wanted to address?
Well, the fact that they said the new Kirk wasn't like the old Kirk because he wasn't tough.
Ah, yes, that's right. Yeah, I think we talked a little bit about that in part 1, or maybe it got cut. I don't remember. But anyway, yeah, the fact that Kirk was very brash and getting into trouble all the time and
getting
such.
his ass kicked instead of doing the ass kicking.
Yeah, I thought that was totally in tune with what I would expect young Kirk to be.
Yeah.
I thought that was perfectly acceptable and made perfect logical sense.
Logic.
He learned through getting his ass kicked how to later be the ass kicker instead of the ass kicky.
He's not going to be born a fucking ass kicker.
And he grew up with his dad, so he got probably most of his dad's values and everything in the original series. But without his dad being a stepchild, he's going to be different.
That's right. I mean, he's still the same basic person inside, but he's
different
a little
upbringing.
bit behind in terms of the emotional development and such, which again is just gives us a new twist on a character that is interesting and allows for some interesting character exploration. The thing that gets me is like, in many ways, this is very true to the spirit of the original Star Trek, which is a very character-driven story. And they've done things that only serve to make the characters interesting and fresh again,
Yeah, because you don't want the same portrayal. You're going to get bored of it again.
Yeah.
And like seeing the whole feud between Kirk and Spock was
cool.
Really cool.
Because they were best friends.
Yeah, you're so
blah.
used to the idea of hearing, them being lifelong friends. And to be able to see them go at each other so often early on in the movie is something.
And they have to have a reason to use the Vulcan nerve pinch. So.
Yes.
That's right. Well, it's not unreasonable either, because a lot of friendships are born out of conflict. Sometimes you become best friends with some guy who used to give you hell in high school or something.
Exactly.
Because you grow up, you change, you mellow out, and you realize, hey, we're not that different after all, and you get along. So I think it was kind of a nice little twist on the friendship with Kirk and Spock, that they weren't always best of friends, that they, started off very much at each other's throats.
Exactly.
So again, I have no problem with that, and I think it just makes for more interesting character developments that they can explore. Well, actually, you were saying something about how it surprised you that so many people seem to be having difficulty wrapping their heads around the alternate universe or the parallel universe thing, when it's like, okay, you're supposedly a Star Trek fan.
Yeah, exactly.
This should not be a difficult concept. Any sci-fi geek worth his salt has at least a passing familiarity with the concept of parallel universes.
Exactly.
Also, in the film, old Spock, Leonard Nimoy, pretty much explains what happened. Or, he goes through the whole storyline as to how he landed, he ended. If it's coming from the mouth of Leonard Nimoy, The guy who
right.
played Spock in the original fucking series, you take it as is.
Exactly.
That means that it's good. It works because
the dude
he
with the
wouldn't have
logic.
fucking agreed to it in the first place if he thought the storyline was so fucked.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That came from the mouth of the original Spock. Damn it.
Yeah, I mean that whole scene with the two of them together, young Spock and old Spock.
That was amazing.
It was just had such a good feeling of passing the torch, which I thought worked in a much more classy way than when Kirk passed the torch to Picard in Generations. I mean, Generations was, I think, one of the most problematic Star Trek films, but that's another story for another time.
Yeah, I have a story about that one.
Okay, another story for another time.
Another time.
Yes. But speaking of which, like one of the other fan complaints I see is that, and this one always cracks me up, is that, well, it's so full of plot holes and contrivances. And I'm like, yeah? When has any Star Trek movie not been full of plot holes
When
and
has any
contrivances?
movie in general not been full of plot holes? There's always going to be plot holes in anything, in any film. You will always be able to find a plot hole.
It's like, yes, there were logistical problems with the plot. For example, why did they need to use this big laser drill to go down to the core of the Earth when the red matter was so potent they could have just dropped a bunch of it on the surface and that would have destroyed the planet? Why?
Because it's cooler
so they
with
could
the
have that
fucking
big-ass
drill.
cool fight scene on the drill platform with Sulu and his
Sulu
sword
gets
and
his
everything.
sword. Yes, that's awesome.
That's the whole reason they did it, and that's it.
I got another one, too.
Okay.
It's when Vulcan was destroyed. Why did it stop? It should have kept on going, sucking things in.
It did.
Yeah.
No, it stopped. Remember, the planet was gone. It was gone. The red matter stopped. That was into it.
Because once it contorts into its own self, it's destroyed.
Yeah, but it should have kept on going.
Yeah, but if that was true, then the entire
like
universe
like
would
it makes a
have
black
been
hole. Yeah, it makes a black hole. So black holes keep on sucking, never stopping, right?
That's also a fallacy.
Keep on sucking.
Yeah, I'm using very general words. I'm like that, but still, it's like black
I
holes
almost
never
busted
stop.
some science on your ass, but I'm not going to do
No,
it.
but like black holes don't stop. They suck.
Completely unrelated to black holes and the physics therein, but
Exactly.
one of my favorite little moments, speaking of the drill platform, which I just remembered, the little nod to the red shirt guy.
Yeah, that was awesome, by the way. To kill the red shirt guy right away.
I just about died laughing when they go down with the guy and he's all like, yeehaw! And they get sucked into the drill.
I like how he's like, I need people trained in hand-to-hand combat. And Sulu's like, I'll go. And then they find out, he's like, what are you trained in? He's like, fencing.
And as soon as what popped to my mind when he did that was Sulu in the original series with no shirt jump going, ah!
Yes!
I have a picture of that.
I'm like, oh god.
Yeah, we just watched that episode the other day, too. So much fun. That's a great episode.
And then I thought right away, Warp Factor, fabulous.
I love him. He's
He's awesome, don't get me wrong, but just, that's funny.
I also, about the film in itself, I really did enjoy, I thought it had like really decent comedic timing.
Yeah.
When Bones has to inject Kirk with that stuff, and he keeps hitting, and his hands swell up, and then he keeps injecting him, and he's like, "Stop it!" And I just I laughed so
I was laughing so hard.
That whole scene was so hilarious. And he's like trying to explain to her, and then his like mouth goes numb. He's like, numb mouth. I have something for that. Stop that!
When poor Chekhov is trying to do his announcement, and he can't log in because his accent is so
that
thick.
was good too.
Right.
Like just little things that they added in, I really enjoyed.
Yeah, and the more thing was Sulu.
Victor.
I'm glad they had that in because in real life there is stupid little things that you can laugh at like that.
That's right. Well, I loved that whole scene because it showed that McCoy was, kind of had an idea what he was doing. Like he knew a lot of stuff, but didn't quite get what he was doing yet.
You've got numb tongue.
He's still learning, which was just
great.
pricelessly funny.
Yeah, because everybody, I know he was supposed to be like the best doctor in Starfleet, but he wasn't that first.
Everybody starts off somewhere.
Yes, and that brings me to the thing I wanted you to remind me of, and which I just remembered.
I totally forgot to remind you of it.
When Sulu can't quite figure out how to get the warp drive going.
Yeah, he has the park brake on.
This is another stupid fan thing I keep seeing. People are like, he's supposed to be the best helmsman in the universe.
Everyone starts
He would
off
never
somewhere.
screw that up. It's like, are you stupid? This is before he became the best helmsman in the universe. He's still a freaking cadet.
People tend to forget that this isn't taking place, after they'd all been a crew for a while.
Yeah.
This is right at the very beginning when they're still fresh out of school and they're
trained,
still learning.
Like they got rushed out of the school to go fight the Romans right away. So obviously they weren't fully trained. They're like, we got war. We all got to go now.
Nobody pops out of the womb being able to fucking fly the Enterprise right off the bat, man. It takes a little bit of practice.
Exactly. Okay. Well, I think we've pretty much covered everything to death by now.
Yes.
This was
so
fun,
let's put our viewers out of their misery for now. Out of 5 Z's, what do we give it? What do you give it?
I give it a 4.5, honestly.
4.5? What do you take marks off for?
Pretty much just... Oh, let me think. As bad as it sounds...
If you're going to take marks off, you got to say why.
I gotta say
it's one of the rules.
I forgot her name now.
Oh, her?
Spock's mom again.
Oh, Winona Ryder.
Winona Ryder
is going to make you
take a whole half star off for Winona Ryder?
It was weird. That's the only bad thing for me of it. It was weird.
Fair enough. Okay. Is that both of your ratings, or is that just Jerry's rating?
Contrary to popular belief, I actually think for myself there. It's Anna Ryzerak.
You're in trouble now.
I'm going to give it a 4, and this is only because I am not so very familiar with the original series. While I thought it was a really well done movie, obviously, I feel I would have been able to enjoy it a lot more if I'd known more about the existing series.
Yeah. It certainly helps if you're familiar with the way that all those characters relate to each other in the original series. But it's not necessarily necessary because you're seeing the formation of those relationships in this one. So.
Yes, but for me, it is.
Sure. Yeah. No problem. Now that you are planning to see the original series,
yes.
And I also recommend the original movies as well. The original crew movies. They're quite a lot of fun. You'll get even more out of the new movie after that. It would just be a continually evolving experience for you. I think you're going to have a lot of fun.
I have a question for you, too. Wait, I got a question before you go.
Oh, okay.
Do you think the Star Trek curse is going to happen?
Star Trek...
The even, or was it the odd number?
The even and odd. That the even ones are the good ones and the odd ones are the bad ones. Well, hey, if that's the case and this is one of the bad ones, then I can't wait to see what the next one's going to be like.
Exactly, because I remember the curse. They always talked about the curse back then.
The curse. Yeah, the curse held true all the way up to the 8th one, actually.
Until they stopped numbering them.
2 was good, 4 was good, 6 was good, 8 was good, and then 10 sucked, so it kind of broke the curse with that one, so go figure. Okay, so out of 5 Z's, I give it a 4.5 because I thought overall it worked really well, and most of the quibbles I have with it I consider to be minor quibbles. The main thing I take a half star off for me is the score. I was really disappointed with the music score. It just didn't have anywhere near the punch of the old ones, and I think that's the one thing that was lacking, and they really need to get some of the old school musicians in there, I think, for the next one. And I think that about does it. Yeah. So any final words? Any final thoughts?
If you haven't seen it yet, you really should go out and watch it and give it a try. And keep an open mind about it if you're a fan of the original series. Just keep an open mind about it.
I'm a hardcore Star Wars fan, and I like this too. So there you go.
Yeah. I've always enjoyed both Star Trek and Star Wars, and I honestly find it kind of silly when people compare them because they're completely different.
Like I say, Star Trek is it's science fiction, whereas Star Wars is science fantasy.
Exactly. This is exactly the words that I use.
I gave that to you.
You did, yeah.
I gave that to him, and he just fucking took it from me. I gave that to you.
We're one person. We're married.
No, we're not.
Well, there you go. So enjoy fighting over who came up with that first.
I did come up with that.
We both did.
No, you fucking didn't.
Alrighty. Well, guys, thank you very much for participating
You're
in,
very
in
welcome.
the video here. It was awesome nerding it up and chatting about the Trek with you. We'll have to do this again sometime with other movies.
Thanks for having us, Sean.
Yes, let's do it again sometime.
Awesome. Alrighty. Well, that's it from us to you for now. So until next time, thanks for watching. Go see Star Trek if you haven't already. And sayonara.